As we talk about football, as we talk about sports all the time, it's not always about wins and losses. Many players don't even get the chance to play for a state title. It's really on the field about building those bonds, building those friendships. If you're walking the sidelines, you're really spending a lot of time with these guys. And for one long-time, but now former Muskegon Oak Ridge coach, it's the same way. He's been doing it for 5 decades. And he is the subject of tonight's Frenzy feature. Larry Figursky has more.
Violent explode hit. I'm going to get rid of the guy, and then I'm going to make the air pit right here.
Michigan High School Football Hall of Famer Jack Schugars has been coaching,
so we're not skating out too far and leaving the C gap open.
And in his mind, more importantly, mentoring.
I saw you take a look at there's no one on the edge there. Good job.
Football players and young men for a half a century now.
Okay, a little more powerful, a little bit more aggressive. Never thought I would be a coach for 50 years. Never even crossed my mind. They're in a 4-4? Yeah. They just kind of all blend together. I just love doing it every year, and I really don't keep track of it. Good.
Yet this season marks his 50th as a high school or college football coach in West Michigan.
That's the greatest thing about 50 years. The 50 years of relationships with the players, 50 years of relationship with the coaches, and the championships come and go, you know, but I tell you, the relationships always stay there.
And now at 72 years young,
I want you exploding into him. Boom!
Mr. Schugars has built and maintained thousands of them.
Thanks for doing extra for me. Of course, Coach.
Jack began his coaching career at Muskegon Oak Ridge in 1969.
So I started at the bottom, junior high, JV, assistant varsity, and then finally varsity.
He took over the Oak Ridge varsity program in 1979.
Let's go 3 and go backside man-to-man 101.
A position he held for 32 years.
11 guys. Unbreakable, unbeatable.
Turning the Eagles into a perennial state power and winning 3 state championships along the way. Before retiring in 2011.
It was difficult, but I really felt it was a time for me to do it. I was going to go into ministry, sports ministries, and I was doing a lot of speaking for different men's groups and things, and that worked out really well.
But when fellow high school Hall of Famer, friend, and then Grand Rapids Community College head coach Tony Anise offered Schugars a unique opportunity later that year, not only to be a special teams coach, but the team chaplain and a character coach as well, Jack found himself right back on the field.
Character coaching, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, and help these kids to get over the next hurdle and be successful citizens that their parents and schools and families can be proud of.
And when Anise was hired at Ferris State University a year later, Schugars went with him.
Most of the time it's going to be to our offensive right, the block's coming.
But for this, his 50th season, Jack returned to the high school ranks.
And then you can play the C gap or D gap, both, you know. You look really good in doing that today.
Thank you. To assist and work for the one football man he has mentored more than any other.
Good, good. Straight. Get over top. Okay.
His son, former player, and now 4th-year Traverse City Central head coach, Eric Schugars.
That is probably one of the greatest thrills in my coaching career, coaching with my son.
And it's kind of funny because the first couple of times it was like our players were like, Coach Schugars, and both of us were turning our heads. And so we had to figure it out. And so now they call him Papa Shugs, and that's a term of endearment. It's a blessing to have him around. And I tell you, our players have certainly grown to love him too. And I certainly do, and our staff has. So it's been a lot of fun.
Don't let him take you out. Don't let him knock you out. Just work on your technique.
Every time I encounter people, I talk to coaches, I talk to players. They're just like, man, I love your dad. I love your dad and all this stuff, you know. And they know him as coach. And I tell you what, there's no greater feeling for me to say I know him as dad.
He'll tell you where the ball's going to move, when they're going to go. All along, you know, it's in the back of my mind, I knew he'd be a great football coach. I'm really proud of him. It's just great to see him being successful.
If I can do a fraction of what he's done in my career, you know, it'll be a success.
That it will. In Traverse City, Larry Figursky, 24 Hour News 8.